Okay, so this is the last section, solving rational equations for our unit. And this is going to have you encompass all the skills you've learned up until now. So you'll do your adding and subtracting, you'll do your multiplying, you'll even do, well, you won't actually do any graphing, but still. You're going to use a lot of those skills that you learned throughout. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some easy ones, we'll move into some harder ones. Remember, go through this the best you can. Even if there's something that you don't understand, that's okay. I will be happy to clear it up for you. Just do your best, and then I will clarify any questions. So write your questions on the side over here. That way you'll remember them when you're done with this, and we'll address those as we need. So let's look at the first one. So solve the problem. Now we have an equal sign, which is different than the last two sections where they were just expressions. With an equal sign, that allows us to kind of be a little more flexible with things. Because as long as we do something to one side, we do it to the other, we're okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to get like denominators between this 3 and this 4. Okay, because they're not the same and I want them to be the same. So in order to do that, I'm going to find the LCM, the least common multiple of these two numbers, 3 and 4. So what it happens to be is 12. So if I multiply this side by 12, okay, I have to multiply this side by 12. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, okay? And as long as you do that, the equation stays balanced. Now, what's the advantage of multiplying by 12? Well, if you do 12 times a third, right, this 12 and this 3, we know that's going to cancel down a little bit and become a 4 over 1. So you'll have 12 over 3 plus, and then this will be 12x over 4 equals 24. But the nice thing, and the reason I picked 12 is because we know 12 over 3 is the same thing as 4, and 12 over 4 is the same thing as 3. So you would have 3x equals 24. Okay, so we're there. And now what you're going to do next is just kick that 4 over to the other side. So we're going to subtract 4. So minus 4. See, the fractions are gone. It looks a lot better. And we'll have 3x equals 20. And then we'll divide by 3, giving you x equals 20 thirds. And then that would be my final answer. Now there's no extraneous roots or there's no values. What does that word extraneous mean? I guess we'll talk about that in the next problem. It means values in which can't be in our answer. Well, because there was no x on the bottom of the fractions, we don't have any extraneous solutions. So this would be our answer. Everything is good, and we're all good to go to the next one. So let's go to the next one. Let's talk about those values in which can't be included in our answer. So we've talked about this before. What's the restriction here? Remember, you cannot have a 0 in the denominator, so x is not going to be allowed to be 0. Otherwise, I would have 4 divided by 0. That's not okay. So what we're going to do is we know that x can't be 0, and then we're going to work this out. So let's see, what's the common multiple here? What am I going to use between all of these numbers in order to get the same? So if you look at 3, you look at x, and you look at 5. So 3x, 5. They all can multiply into a 15x. So if I multiply the whole thing by 15x, and I'm using one giant parenthesis here instead of doing two separate ones. And let's see what happens. You would have 15x times 1, so that's 15x over 3. Plus, that would be 15x times 4, which would be 60x over x. And then you would have equals 15x times 2, which is 30x over 5. Okay, so we multiplied it to the tops of all of those. So let's see what's going to happen. 15 over 3, we know that breaks down to a 5x. And these x's can cancel, leaving you with just a plus 60. And then this last one, 30 over 5, is the same as 6. So you have a 6x. So now we've broken it down to where it looks a lot prettier. All you have to do is subtract your 5 to the other side, and you're going to get 60 equals 6 minus 5 is 1x. Right? So that's just subtracting that 5x to the other side. 6x minus 5x is x. So you get x equals 60. Now, this is where you have to check. You got to say, hey, is that 60? Is it included in my excluded values? It's not. So 60 is okay. We're all good with this, and we're on to the next one. If it was a 0, we would say no solution. Okay? So we got the answer to that. Let's look at the next one. Okay, so this is one right here. Let's look at the common factors between all of these values, between 3x, 6, and 3x. What can they all multiply into? It's not, you're going to get the hang of this pretty fast, but 3 times 2 is 6, so we know 6 is the number, and x would be the letter, so it would be a 6x. We're going to multiply everything by 6x. We'll see what we get here. You know what? Let's make it easy. Here, you know what? You're going to like this better. Let's try this approach. So let's use everything from the bottom. Let's use a 3x and a 6, okay? So let's try this. So if we do a 3x and a 6 and we multiply by everything on the top, we're going to have 2 times 3x times 6 on the top, okay? And then a 3x on the bottom. And then you're going to have plus 3x times 6 over 6 for the second term. That's for the second term. And then you're going to have equals 4 times 3x times 6 all over 3x. Now, the nice thing about using all of the terms is you're going to quickly see what cancels, which makes it kind of nice. 3x over 3x, we know those are gone, and that's going to leave you with 6 times 2, which is 12. So that's nice. And then right here, these 6's will cancel. That leaves you with a 3x. So you get 3x. And then over here, these 3x's will cancel. That leaves you with a 6 times 4, which is a 24. So now this problem is looking real pretty. It went from something ugly to something pretty. Now we'll subtract the 12 to the other side. That gives us 3x equals 12. And then we'll divide by 3. X will give us 4. Okay? And then that would be our answer. But we have to go back. Something I kind of forgot to do in the beginning is, what was my excluded values here and here? What couldn't be for x? Well, x was not allowed to be 0, and I probably should have done that before the problem started. X is not allowed to be 0, because if it was, I would be dividing by 0. But that's okay, because we got our x to be 4, which is okay. It's not 0, so we're good to go. That one's done. All right, let's try this one over here. Okay, excluded values. Let's do it right off the bat this time. So the excluded values, what can x not equal? X is not allowed to equal 3 based on this right here. I'm sorry, negative 3, not negative 3. X is not allowed to be negative 3, so let's try that. So x cannot be negative 3, because negative 3 plus 3, that's 0. So that's not okay. All right, so now let's work this out. If I look at this bottom, I'm going to multiply it by everything here. So I'm going to multiply it by, this is over 1. I'm going to have a 2 and an x plus 3. So I'm going to have a 2 times an x plus 3. I'm going to multiply that by everything in there, and we're going to see what we get out. On the first example, we're going to have a 2 times an x plus 3 times an x, because the x was already there. This x and that x are already there. I'll show you what I mean by that. This and this, that's that piece, just in case you want to follow that. Divided by 2, because that was down there, minus 2 times x plus 3 divided by x plus 3. Okay? And then equals 2 times x plus 3 times x divided by 1, because that was already there. And where did these pieces come from? Just because I could see how maybe it would be a little bit confusing. But this 1, there's no 1 here, so this one doesn't need a 1. But this x is this x. So hopefully you see where those are coming from. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cancel. So these 2's are gone. These x plus 3's are gone. Nothing cancels over here. So what do you have left? You got an x times 2. Oops, I'm sorry. You have an x times x plus 3. And then you've got a minus 2 equals 2 times, well, let's just call it 2x. I'll just move the x to the front. Times x plus 3, because nothing cancels there. Okay? So let's work all this out. This looks like it's going to be quadratic. So distribute. That gives you x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals, now distribute, that gives you 2x squared plus 6x. And then what you're going to do is bring everything to the same side. That will make life a little bit easier if you move everything to the same side. So let's see. In doing that, if I subtract x squared, I subtract 3x, and I add 2. So subtract x squared, subtract 3x, and add 2. Let's see what we get. We'll be left with 0 over here. That gives me an x squared plus 3x plus 2, which is nice. That's nice. Why is that nice? Because that'll factor. Very nice. It'll factor to an x plus 2 and an x plus 1. Okay, because that'll get you the 3 in the middle that you need. So what's my two solutions? So my two solutions here would be x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 1. Those are my two values for my answer. Now, are those all kosher with my excluded values, which was, I came down a little bit. Remember my excluded values, I said x could be negative 3. Well, that's not what I have for my answer, so I'm all good to go. This problem's done, and we're happy with those answers. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Sorry if I'm going a little bit too fast. Okay, the first thing I like to do before I even get started with this one is factor this quadratic right here. Okay, so if we factor this will give you an x minus 4x plus 3. Okay, and now you can see all the pieces you need. So restricted values. What's my restricted values? X is not allowed to be 4, negative 3, and that's it. Those are the two values it can't be. All right, so we're going to multiply this whole expression by whatever's on the bottom, every piece of the bottom. So I need an x minus 4 and a x plus 3. Okay, everything is going to get multiplied by that. So going to the first one, what are we going to have? We're going to have a 2x times x minus 4, x plus 3. Okay, divided by, I'm going to leave the factored form there, x minus 4, x plus 3. Okay, plus 5 times, I know this looks ugly, but I promise you it'll clean up very nicely. It will be in good shape. Okay, so over x plus 3, and then equals 2 times x minus 4, x plus 3. Don't get hung up on all the parentheses. It's not as bad as it looks, and this is where it gets a little prettier right here. Okay, it's not as bad as it looks, I promise. Okay, so here we go. What cancels? They're gone. They're gone, and they're gone. So what do we have left? We have a 2x plus 5 times x minus 4. And you're probably going to skip some steps when you do it, but then that's okay. But for right now, I'm going to show all the steps just so you see where everything comes from. Here, we'll distribute this 5. So we're going to have a 2x plus 5x minus 20 equals 2x plus 6. Right? If you go there. Okay. So let's see what we get here. Keep going a little bit further. We're getting there. We're almost done. All right, so here we'll go, let's see, put these two together. That gives you 7x minus 20 equals 2x plus 6. Let's move everything to the same side. Subtract 2x over here, so minus 2x minus 2x. That's 5x minus 20 equals 6. Kick the 20 over, that's 5x equals adding 20, that gets it 26. Divide by 5, x equals 26 over 5. That seems weird, but that is the answer, and that's not one of my restricted values. So we're good. That's all good. This one's fine. Okay, a little bit of a longer problem, but not too hard. Same thing here. Let's factor this bottom. All right, so next problem, we're going to start off by, here, let me move this a little bit so I have a little more room to work. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to go x plus 3, x minus 3 here. We know that that's difference of two squares. So my common, well, hold on, before we go common denominator, let's go restricted values. X is not allowed to be 3, negative 3, that's it. Okay, it can't be either one of those two. So let's work it out. So I'm going to multiply everything by every piece. I need an x minus 3 and an x plus 3, because that's what everything's included on the bottom. So x minus 3, x plus 3. Everything is going to get multiplied by these two. So we're going to have 6 times x plus 3, x minus 3, divided by whatever was on the bottom, x minus 3, equals 8x squared times x plus 3, x minus 3, divided by whatever's on the bottom, x plus 3, x minus 3. And you're probably going to see pretty soon that you're not going to have to write all these steps out, because you're going to know what cancels, and you're going to start doing it like that when it happens. So, oh, sorry, this is 4x times x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay? Okay, so now, let's see what cancels here. We'll see if we can figure this out. This looks really ugly, but it's not that bad. These guys are canceling. They're gone. They're gone. And what is left? Not a lot. Not a lot's left. We got a 6 times an x plus 3 equals 8x squared minus 4x times x minus 3. See, the advantage of doing it this way is that we cleared out the denominator. We're no longer working with fractions, which we don't like. So 6x plus 18 equals 8x squared minus 4x. I'm going to distribute this, okay? Minus 4x squared plus 12x, okay? Okay, bringing it all together. So this is just some simple, second quarter problem solving at this point. Not too bad. We can do this. The 8x squared minus 4x squared is going to give you 4x squared plus 12x. And this is your 6x plus 18. Let's bring everything to the same side. So we'll bring everything to the right. So subtracting 6x, you're going to have your 4x squared minus 12x minus 6x is going to give you plus 6x. And then minus 18 to the other side, that gives you minus 18. So you're here, and now you might look at it and say, oh boy, alright, I got a 4 out front. We don't usually like those 4s, but that's okay, we can handle that. We'll divide everything by 2. Pull a 2 out, that gives you a 2x squared plus 3x minus 9. And then what we'll do from here is factor. So I know you don't like that 2 there, but that 2 really just kind of goes away, because if you divide both sides by 2, it's gone. So you're going to go 2x and an x, and review big X method if you don't remember how to do this, but you're probably going to go minus 3 and a plus 3, because that'll get you your negative 9. The outside here, right here, gets you a 6x. The inside gets you a negative 3x. And you add those two together, you get the 3x that you want. So I got my two right terms. So I have an x minus 3 and an x plus 3. So the opposites of these guys, right? This is a negative 3. That's one of my solutions. And in this solution, you kind of set it equal to 0 and solve. So that's 2x equals 3. X equals 3 halves. And then that would be your other solution. So now, this is an example where the excluded values are going to come into play. So let's take a look here. This 3 halves is okay. Oh, geez, I can zoom out far enough. Let me see here. So I'm not allowed to have 3 or negative 3, right? Well, this 3 halves will be okay. We like him, all right? But this negative 3, we can't have him. He's excluded. He's an excluded value. So even though your algebra was right, that excluded value prevents you from using that. Okay, so let's go to some old school stuff, okay, some old school stuff. So if you take a look at this problem, this is a fraction equals a fraction, which you could use the same method as I was using before, but really you might remember back to, algebra, when you have a fraction equals a fraction, you can just cross multiply. So that's what we're going to do. So, oh, you're saying, oh, that 12 is not a fraction. Sure it is. Put it over 1. Okay, so how do we cross multiply? 1 times this and this times this, okay? So that's saying 1 times 5x plus 6 equals 12 times 2x minus 1. And we're going to solve that. So that's 5x plus 6, because the 1 doesn't do anything. And then you distribute here, that gives you 24x minus 12. Putting like things together, let's move the 12 over to the other side. So adding 12 to 6 will give you 18. And subtracting 5 from 24 would give you 19. So you get 19x equals 18, which seems weird, but you would divide both sides by 19, and you would get x equals 18 19ths. Is that right? Yeah, it is. There you go. All right. Oh, was that part of the excluded values? Because I do have an excluded value here, right? And what is that excluded value? My excluded value here, 2x minus 1 equals 0. So 2x equals 1, x equals a half. I'm not allowed to have a half, so x is not allowed to equal a half. But that's okay, because I got 18 19ths, and that makes me happy. Okay, so we're good to go. Now, this one, cross multiply. Again, because we got fraction equals fraction. Anytime you get fraction equals fraction, just go ahead and cross multiply, I think. Work it out, be done with it, and then move on to the next one. So let's see. This is what you're going to have once you cross multiply. Distribute. Make sure you distribute to both. Common mistake. People don't distribute that to both. So that's 24x minus 6 equals 24x plus 12. And then we're gonna simplify that. Oh shoot. Look at that. Kick that 24x to the other side. So let's see. If you subtract 24x to the other side, you see how these guys are going to cancel? Because 24 minus 24 is gone. Those guys are gone. So that's with a negative 6 equals 12. Well, that don't seem right. Because we know negative 6 don't equal 12, so that's strange, isn't it? So in this case, if you ever get to a situation where it's this, you know it's just straight up false, right? If that's not right. Then you just say that this thing has no solution. Okay, there's no other way around that. Because there's no way you're going to find a value for x to make that statement true because it's false from the start. Okay, so no solution on that one. Okay, so this is the part where I pause the video, you try it, so you go ahead and stop. I'm going to stop the video, you're going to try the problems, and then once you're done with the problems, you hit the play button, all the answers will be there. You will check your work. If you got them right, you just move right on to those practice exercises. If you got them wrong, let's figure out where you got them wrong, okay? All right, so I'm going to pause it, you do the work. Okay, and we're back. So hopefully you tried those problems on your own. Go ahead and check them over. See if you got them right. If you got them all right, then go ahead and move on to the next one and do the practice exercises. If you did not get them right, let's try to figure out where you got them wrong at. So let me get my highlighter out here. We'll go through them. So the first one, you probably saw that x couldn't equal 0 because of this guy. So you know x can't equal 0. So that was the restriction here. So what you did is you found the like denominator between all of these. It happened to be x. Everything got multiplied by x. So it was 4x, x squared, 5x. You canceled out all the parts that would cancel out. In this case, it was only these two. So you're left with this right here. You kick everything to the same side, and then you factor. You got x minus 1, x minus 4. So those values give you an answer of x equals 1 and x equals 4, which is not 0. So you're very happy because you have the answer, and it's not restricted. Okay, so over here, you should have looked at this and said, oh, this is cross multiplication. So you cross multiplied, but before you cross multiplied, you found that your restriction had to have been a fourth. You're not allowed to have a fourth as your answer. So you cross multiply, negative 6 times the bottom, 1 times the top, and then there you go. You get these, you work this out, distributing the 6 inside, moving all the x's to the same side. The other side happens to be 0. Negative 27 divided by negative 27, or divided by 0 is just 0. So you get x equals 0 as your answer, and that's not part of your restricted, so you're happy with that. This last one's a little bit bigger. The first thing you should have done was factor here. So you factored that bottom there, got all your restrictions. You know x can't equal 0, x can't equal 3, because you have a couple x's and you have a couple x minus 3's. So the thing you were going to multiply everybody by was right here. That's that x times x minus 3. So you did that to everybody on the top. So 18 times that, 6 times that, 5 times that. Canceled anything on the bottom. Everything canceled here. Only the x minus 3 is canceled there, and the x is canceled there. That left you with this line right here. You distributed that 5, which is nice. That gives you something along this line. So the 15x minus 15. Combined your x's together by kicking the 6 over and the 15 back to the other side. You get 11x equals 33, so x must equal 3. So x equals 3, but then you're like, oh shoot, hold on, I have a restriction of 3, so x is not allowed to equal 3. So that's not good. So that means you have no solution because there was no other option. So that's it. So no solution. If you got any questions, jot those down on the side. Don't forget to summarize your work, and I will be around to clarify anything that doesn't make sense. Okay, good luck on the practice exercises.